This podcast is brought to you by Enlightening Learners Academic Coaching and Tutoring Services. In this presentation, we're going to solve inequalities involving multiplication and division. Our guided questions: how to use the multiplicative property of equality to solve and graph inequalities and be able to demonstrate the process, solve for the inequality, and graph its result. Alright, so we have this equation: 2/3 of x is less than or equal to 4. The way we're going to solve this is by using reciprocals. Now, the reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. And so what we're going to do is we're going to apply this concept, 3/2, and we're going to do that to both sides. What that does, my 2's cancel out, my 3's cancel out, and I'm left with x is less than or equal to the result of 3/2 times 4, which is 12 divided by 2, which is 6. So in this case, x is less than or equal to 6. So if I'm going to graph this now, create my number line. I'm going to draw my number that I'm relating it to. And I always want to put 0 where it's relation to. In this case, x is less than 6, so my dot is going to be closed, and less than runs to the left. We have another problem here. This time, it's a negative value. Negative values are special, and I'll get to that in just a minute. Remember that the negative 2x really means negative 2/1. And the reciprocal of negative 2/1 is negative 1/2. So I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 1/2. And the 2's cancel. 1's cancel, and so does my sign. And I'm left with x is, I'm going to leave the inequality for just a minute. 8 times a negative 1 is a negative 8. Negative 8 divided by a 2 is a negative 4. Now, the trick that you need to remember is that when we're dividing out by a negative, this inequality is going to change its direction. So it's greater than now, we're going to reverse it to make it less than. So the rule that you need to remember is that when you're dividing by a negative, always flip the inequality. Alright, so we've got two examples here. And what we're going to do is we are going to multiply this one by 4/3. We're going to do that to both sides. And while I'm demonstrating it, I'm going to multiply this one by a negative 2/3 to both sides. So everything cancels. Left with is x is greater than or equal to negative 3. Well, the negative 3 and the positive 3 cancel, and I'm just left with a negative 1 times 4, which is a negative 4. And I'll graph that in just a minute. Let's go ahead and work on this side. So we're going to multiply this. Everything cancels out. But don't forget that we're multiplying again by negative. So my inequality is actually going to change directions. So I'm going to change it right now. And now it's x is less than or equal to negative 2 times 5. It's a negative 10 divided by 3. That doesn't simplify. So I'm going to leave it as negative 10 over 3. If you wanted to, we could change this to an improper fraction, excuse me, a compound fraction. 3 goes into negative 10 3 times. And I have 1 left over, so it's negative 3 1/3. We're going to graph these now. Number line. X is greater than negative 4. On this, the correct side. This is going to be a shaded in mark because it's an equal and it's greater. So it points to the right. This says x is less than or equal to negative 1 1/3. My number line. I'm going to put my number. So negative 3, and we'll put a negative 4 over here. Negative 3 1/3 is going to be somewhere about right here. We're going to break this up into thirds. It would be a third, 2/3, finally 3/3. So x is less than. This dot is actually going to be open dot. And it's less than, so it's going to